good night, everybody. It's Monday, right? And I know it's been a while since I have been in front of that camera. I mean, I've been doing a lot right now for a lot of people who want to get their voices heard. And again, big up to Mara G for the Friday sports show that he's hosting, right? I do applaud people who step forward and do something for the community at a community level, right? But specifically, if you notice the name of this particular segment, and I'm going live with it so I can have some interaction later on, um, it's called the Everyday Man Belize, right? And what the intentions is to be able to shed some light and kind of educate and share some of my opinions on some of the things that are happening around Belize. And of course, I'm from the south. I'm from southern Belize, Punta Gorda, and so I also get a chance for me to share some of the opinions or some of the things that are actually happening in Punta Gorda, right? But what is major in terms of headlines right now is the shooting of the 14-year-old in Placencia, and so again, condolences to the family. Right, it is one of those things that we don't expect to happen to anyone, right? And I'm happy that Belize is standing up. People I noticed that there's a little people getting together, talking up, speaking up against the shooting that occurred, which is what we need. We need people to be active and to say that that is wrong. That is totally wrong. It's not accepted in our society. So definitely that's something that is worth discussion. And again, we just continue to be vigilant in Belize. We don't like to say or to tell our kids that you have to be afraid of the police, right? They have to understand that maybe that is an isolated incident, but it happened, and somebody needs to justice needs to be served for that particular event that happened, right? So again, I'm going to spend about 20 minutes. I'm hoping if I can do less, I'll do less, right? I don't like long lives. So 20 minutes, 15 minutes, just to share some of my thoughts. Several things that has been going around. One, and I've been looking at everything that's happening in Belize, and a major thing is that we have an amendment to the constitution that's happening, which is kind of major because not every time your constitution gets amended. We're at number 11 now, right? So the 10th amendment, and this is particularly for the younger minds, and that's kind of the aim of this, to get the younger people involved. For some reason or not, I noticed that young people are detached from everything that happens in our country. They're detached from everything that happens in the community. And so I'm trying to figure out, I'm sitting down trying to figure out how can we get them more informed on what's happening in Belize. How can we get them more informed on some of the major issues that will affect them later on, right? Because we are kind of, well, at my age, right, we're kind of jumping over that hump now, getting ready to head out, right? And so it is important that I share some of the information that I believe, or the way I understand it. And disclaimer here, I am no liar. I didn't study politics, right? I am a T guy who lives in Punta Gorda town, right? Who lives in a small community or a small town in the country of Belize. So if you're not from Belize and you're watching this, just let me give you some quick background. Belize population somewhere close to 400,000 people. I live in a fairly small town, population of about 5,000 or 6,000 people, and so we don't expect that a lot would be happening when you look at that population amount for our country and for our district. But things do happen, and I think the YouTube platform and the Facebook platform, because I'm broadcasting on both of them now, I am actually using OBS Studio to get that over. Found a nice little plugin so that I can multi-stream to both platforms. But I'm getting technical there. Back to the 10th Amendment, right? The 10th Amendment to our Constitution talks about, and this is just putting everything in a nutshell, talks about making changes to people in certain positions whenever government changes, right? So it was, I guess, a culture that as soon as government change, let's say your UDP and PUP comes in, that the people who were employed under the UDP government in certain positions would automatically leave, and then they would replace those people with the people belonging to their party. That's a culture in Belize. And so we look at, for example, the chairman of Election and Boundaries, the chairman of the Belize Advisory Commission, chairman of the Public Service Commission, and these are key roles, key areas in Belize, right, for us. So the norm is that those people would just jump out. You put in your people from your party, and everything forwards from there. But so they're changing the constitution to ensure that this happens, because I think what's happening now under the PUP reign is that they're noticing that all the public servants, most of the public servants who are employed, are actually still UDP people, right? And so they're amending this constitution to make that easier to shift it out, right? And again, it is just because of the accumulation of years. Remember, UDP was in for 13 years, right? So it's difficult to just say, all right, I will get rid of all of you and I'll bring in my people, because it will cost some money to pay off those people, right? Looking at it being over 10 years. So amendment to the constitution will definitely make that easier for them. They have the majority, they have the power right now, and so they're doing it. That is just how it works. The thing with that, and my only thing with it, when you look at the entire let's say the chairman of Election and Boundaries, and you look at all these top positions, and you're wondering if we are actually putting people there based on qualifications, right? Because if you have somebody who is capable and somebody who has Belize's best interest at heart, then you would think that, all right, if this person has been there for the last 5-6 years, wouldn't it be great to have that continuity from that person if they're doing a good job? But the politics in our country says, no, we need to change that person and put in the person that we want, right? So that's essentially what the 10th Amendment looks at. And of course, all of these things have their 90 days for people to review. In most cases, it just passes through, as far as I can tell, and I'm still trying to sort out the function of the Senate in our country. As far as I can tell, though, our Senate is just a rubber stamp also, right? The Senate, as much as we think they should have power as a part of our system, to me, and this is my opinion, they don't, right? Or they don't exercise that power. We still look at Senate talks and or Senate debates, and seems like that same old house talk where they just back at each other, right? So that happens again. 10th Amendment coming through, getting rid of some of these people up top, putting in their people to have their vision pushed through. Which again, some people might say there is no problem with that, right? But this is just to inform the young people, because I want you to start caring. I want you to start understanding what's happening. The 11th Amendment to the Constitution, this one is kind of what I call a shine amendment, because this is aimed specifically at we know it is aimed at Shine Barrow. Essentially, what that does is that it changes or disallows certain groups from being a part of Parliament, and by certain groups I mean people who have a criminal record or have served in jail for more than 12 months. So you can't be a part of the Parliament if right now the law states that you can't be a part of the Parliament if you're in jail, which just makes sense, right? Or if you're sentenced to lifetime in prison, which makes sense. So they are just making the amendment now to say that if you serve more than 12 months for a particular crime anywhere in the world, I guess I could put it like that now, because it states the Commonwealth, it means then that you can't be a part of Parliament, right? So again, where this goes, I don't know. I know for sure that the opposition will, fight this to the end, right? Because it will affect them, right? As is. But when you look at everything and you say, if you go to work for somebody, right, the first thing they ask, they say, all right, present me a police record also. And then you present that police record, and I'm wondering if you had a police record, some place automatically dismiss you and say, all right, you can't work for me. All right, so maybe government is heading in that same direction, all right, for us, and so the amendment, the 11th Amendment, will look at that also, right? So it looks at service or time in jail, 12 months and over, and say, all right, you can't run for parliament, you can't be in these political positions. The cannabis licensing thing, and I won't say the legalization of cannabis because I don't think that is what it is. It's more of a licensing program that will occur for the change to weed, right? That's like cannabis weed, because that's what it is. So what they're doing is that they're changing the legislation, because now I think it was 10 gram you were allowed to have without any kind of license. What they're doing essentially now is licensing the whole weed factor. And so yes, they're saying, all right, let's legalize the weed. It's not legalizing the weed, it's putting some sort of structure into creating a business for weed, right? And you have to ask yourself, who will benefit the most from something like this? How will a small man get involved? How will you and I, for example, being the small man on the ground, how do we get involved? We're not millionaires, right? So we can't plant 30 acres, 40 acres of weed, right, and produce it or do something with it. But from the research I've done, there's a lot of benefits, but not scientific benefits, because I don't think they have actually documented some of the benefits of marijuana. But in other parts of the world, people are using the oil, people are using the leaf for teas, people are using different components from the plant itself for different ailments. And so we know that there's a lot of health benefit when it comes to it, but nothing really scientifically documented, right? So it means that me and you, we have to find our way to also get into that market, because it will happen. The churches are against it, right? Which they should be, right? Because it's changing the moral compass, but it will happen whether we like it or not. So we have to get with the times, right? But from what I understand is that you'll need a certain license, and so if you do smoke weed or consume the marijuana in any way, you'll need to present a license card, right? I think if I heard correct, it's about $50 for 2 years, something like that. But you'll have a consumption lounge license. You're looking at a cultivation license. You're looking at a security provider license, right? Because if you're growing, think about this, if you're growing 30, 40 acres of weed, when harvest time comes, you don't think somebody will come for it though, right? But from what has been told is that we're importing weed from Mexico and Guatemala. And I saw a small, I'll say documentary style video the other day, right? And what happened was that they were, and I had a little problem with the documentary, right? Because to me, like, they were selling Belize as a gang nation, which I don't think we're really a gang nation, but they're saying yes, and the fight is all over weed, right? And so they're saying, all right, let's license this product and give the small man a license so that they can consume weed. But how will the small man benefit again? That's the answer. Apart from consumption, how do you create a business? So do you now you'll be a licensed weed seller? Yes, the price of weed will go down. You'll have more stores around selling that product. So how will you benefit, right? It means that maybe the small man of a farm or cooperative that will grow a 40 or 50 acres of weed, 100 acres of weed, and split the profit down together, right? But again, who will be able to acquire those licenses based on what the streamlining will be for those licensing? But again, I know that it will happen. We know it will happen. The church will push back a little, but it's going to happen for us. It's just another business. It's just another business. How do you tap into that business? What byproducts can you create? All the young chemists coming out of school now, what byproducts can you create from it, right? I know in other parts of the world, the oil is very expensive, and a lot of people are using it now for particular ailments, right? All right. They're saying that they're going to regulate the different variety that are being grown, or different types that are being grown in country, and of course that might spiral out of hand after a year or two when people start crossbreeding those plants, right? And then imagine what the police job will be now, right? So we're adding more now to the police officers, and they're going to stop you now and say, show me a weed license, right? You can't consume it in public, so you'll have to do it at home still, but you'll need an identification card, which I understand what they're doing. The identification cards actually adds to the amount of money that government will receive, because from the IDs alone you'll make over $1 million, right? And then just maintaining that ID every 2 years, you'll make over $1 million. Just the registration, right, for everything, you'll make some money. So the police will now have to stop you and say, all right, show me a weed card, right? And then you'll have to present that card. If you don't have that card, then you'll be in violation of something and have to pay a fine or a fee or something, right? And so it is important then that we also look at that, and we start thinking of how we will benefit from this entire marijuana industry, or weed industry, or hemp industry as it's being called, as the small man. I think that's my point, right? As the small man, how do we benefit? All right. Those are some of the main points for Punta Gorda in particular. We have several things happening around PG. PG continues to, the rains are here, so we continue to see the bad street, the leaf flooding. But again, the town council, from my point of view, they're trying their best to see how they can resolve some of the issues we're having. There was the opening of a welcome center, and for me, I'm kind of drawn back that it was not publicized, or more people were not invited to the opening of the welcome center. I didn't know that the opening would occur until the day I passed by and saw that opening. And for me, that's tremendous in this part of town, because we want to know who will utilize the welcome center, who will be there, which buildings will be for what particular groups are we going, how is it going to be organized. You bring in everybody, you bring some people to the table and discuss how we'll utilize that area. And I feel like for some reason we have been left out. But I'll do my investigations this week to find out what's going on with the welcome center, and I definitely will report back to you next week and what the plans are, because I do want to know what the plans are for that area, because it's a next form of revenue if managed properly for our town, and our town desperately needs it, right? Apart from that, we have the other issue, which is a sensitive issue, the issue with the communal and Maya land rights, which definitely will affect Toledo, right? And it's something to keep an eye out for the young people in particular. This will affect your future, for the future of people in Toledo. There's nothing wrong with communal land, and as long as it's utilized for preservation of culture, as it said, right? But you have to ask the question, what do they really want? Because I haven't seen any big move to say, all right, we're going to use this land for a particular reason, or continue to use this land culturally. I am disturbed, however, that, and for a minute I thought it was a lie, where the BTB took down the images of the Maya temples. I still would like to hear from the Mayan leaders as to what happened there, or did they request that those actually get taken down. I still think that they should inform us as to what is going on, especially here in the Toledo district, because it will affect us in the longer run, right? But like I mentioned, I have to do a little bit more research on that topic. I wish that the people, the other Mayan leaders, associations, would come out and inform us a little bit more. I feel like they're in hiding right now, as opposed to telling us, yeah, what this is going on. We have the communal land thing going. We have all the land rights thing to go on, right? But again, we're not there yet, I guess. In terms of the Cerro land, right, and that is close to our area, 900 acres, and I keep thinking that again, the representative from that particular land area, and although it's private land, so they have no need to report to us, right? We would like to hear though what's going on in that area in terms of their plan for that particular 900 acres of land. Our area rep, Honorable Mike Espat, um, we would like to hear from you also, right? We want to know what's going on, what's the plan for Toledo over the next 4 years that you'll be there in government. Um, we want to know what changes will happen, whether there will be any changes, or do we just sit down and hide for our next 5 years and hope things get better, right? Like what happened for 13 years for us in the Toledo district. And I'm saying it because I'm seeing the Toledo West in particular, you know, a lot of stuff happening in Toledo West. Well, a lot of stuff happened in Toledo West over the past couple months, which was surprising. And, you know, they had that drive, but for us here in Toledo East, nothing happens. And we look, and I'm still seeing the lines of people coming in and collecting money every time in town, right? Every time in town, they're coming and they're collecting money and they're standing in the sun hot. Well, now it's raining. And I say, man, these poor people, um, why can't they relocate the distribution of funds for whatever is left? Because I know it's changing name now from assistance program to something else. But for whatever is left, why can't they relocate the distribution of money and take it to the villages? Why can't it be done in San Antonio? Why can't it be done in Halakte or one of the other villages that are closer for these people? I feel like they're punished when they come to town to collect those monies, right? But again, I just want to bring it to the forefront so that the young people know, the younger minds know that this is what is happening, right? The whole support program in terms of the social programs um, continue to dwindle in slowly, right? And of course, we still look and we still want that our people are empowering themselves. And I continue to think, I say, but the people in the villages really and truly have always been farmers. Well, culturally have always been farmers, and I say quote unquote because I know that a lot of the younger generation now they're shying away from the farming itself, and you know the whole television thing and the internet thing changes lives, and so they don't want that again, right? But they have the land, let's utilize it. Let's again continue to try to feed ourselves in terms of creating programs for ourselves. Young people, and I my best advice is just get together. You know, talk. If you need the advice, somebody will talk about programs you could start, because all you need for champion the owner, you know, just need to start doing a thing, and it happen. But you guys really need to get up and start paying attention to what's happening around us, because at the end of the day, whatever is left here in Belize will be left for you. And if there's a bill left for Belize, that bill will be left for you. All right. But I'm gonna stop there for tonight. All right. And again, the show is called The Everyday Man Belize, and I'm just sharing my understanding of some of the things that have been happening around us here in Belize. And I'm hoping that every week I can shed light on some of the topics as they come up. All right. And of course, if I can get people in, some guests in, I will do that at some point. But for those in the live, thank you, right, for being here. Let me just mention a few, Joel. Yeah, definitely. This whole thing with the marijuana stuff, not designed for the small man. As a recap, Ivor, 900 acres, yes, 900 acres, a Carib reserve, located right beside Punta Gorda, that is used for farming by the Garifuna people. But again, I'm calling for a little bit of structure to the area, a little bit catching up in terms of land distribution and how it is used, and also yeah, Jamie Hines, the man just the thing yesterday with the DJ stuff. I love it. He keeps doing small programs around town. I like to see those small programs running. I also would like to ask the town council, what programs are you putting in place for these young people, so that you can push the way forward for them. And I'm talking to youth development, the people in charge of youth development in Punta Gorda. You know what? We've been talking for years. Let's get some program running, right? Let's get some things going for the young people here in Punta Gorda town and all across the country. I keep hearing about Orange Oak to do this, Corozal to do this, Orange Oak to do this. For some reason, I feel like our capital is up north now, but when do we hear Punta Gorda they do this, Toledo they do this, right? I know Miss Carla, big up yourself, you go for a queen, right? Perfect, right? I like it. I like when people move forward and people are productive. But guys, you know what? Thank you for being here. Really short live. I'm keeping it short. I hope I didn't pass 30 minutes, right? And I'll see you guys next week, Monday.